I've seen this being shared around quite a lot, and it just really annoyed me on multiple different levels, and so I thought I'd just do a video talking about it. Some pleb called James Melville. Britain is a country where a new Prime Minister will be chosen by 0.03% of the electorate to form a government that doesn't have a majority in a party that's 20% in the polls to try and deliver something the majority of the country does not want. Fuck's sake, James. That's such an unrepresentative statement of what's actually happening. I mean, okay, let's work from the end backwards, right? To try and deliver something the majority of the country does not want. We know that the country wants Brexit. Your polling was wrong. However, the actual referendum result was not. That's the correct result. We know the majority of the country does want it. It has to be done. Stop whining. The party is 20% in the polls. Well, so what? Again, they didn't get 20% when they were actually running the general election. Admittedly, they fucked up in the general election, but they were actually democratically elected. So being at 20% in the polls at any given time is not really an indication. What matters is voting day. I can't believe I have to say that. But I guess that I do have to explain this to you, because then I have to go back. Unable to form a government that doesn't have a majority. Okay, they don't have a majority. They're in a coalition with the DUP. So what? All of Europe is governed by coalitions. You're acting like we're quite a rare example of a country in Europe that doesn't have coalition governments. So, or usually have coalition governments. So it's one of those things that's like, okay, there's nothing wrong with that. Parties cooperating to form a government. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. You're like, that's fine. That's how democracies work, right? And then the new Prime Minister will be chosen by 0.3% of the electorate, as in, he means the Tory party membership. Yeah, we don't vote for a president. I don't know whether I need to explain that or something. This is not the United States, this is not France. We don't vote for the Prime Minister. We've never voted for a Prime Minister. You vote for your local MP. And then if they are part of a party, that party forms a majority if it gets enough seats, or goes into a coalition with another government. And then the coalition that we have elected into power by voting for our individual MPs make a decision amongst themselves as to who's going to be the Prime Minister, usually the party leader. And now we're having a Prime Minister stand down. So why wouldn't that party then choose another Prime Minister, especially when that party has a democratic structure within it? The membership is actually going to vote on who the new party leader will be. But you make it sound so undemocratic that nobody's been involved. It's like, no, we've already had our votes. We've all done this. We've been through the process that made it democratic, and now the Conservative leader is standing down and we're getting someone new. Okay. That happens. That happened under Labour with Gordon Brown, did it not? And yeah, there are quotes of Boris Johnson whining about essentially the same thing on the other side. And he was wrong then too. And you are wrong now. Okay? It's a perfect... I mean, like, the one thing we could really say is, it could be better on, is say something like proportional representation. First past the post is a bit archaic these days. There are clearly large segments of society whose needs are not being met. So why not? Why shouldn't we have... for proportional representation of a first past the post? Completely agree on that argument, but the rest of it is actually quite sound. Electing our local MPs keeps them with a sort of local frame of mind, and then the party forms a coalition or forms a majority government of its own. I don't see a problem with that. I just don't see what's wrong with that. Now, I mean, there might well be ideas and concerns with it that I haven't really considered, but that seems relatively stable. We haven't had a civil war in like 350 years. So it seems to have done the job. I don't really know what you're complaining about. But if you frame it in a particular way and leave out all of these details and put it as just, 0.3% of the electorate are choosing the Prime Minister, as if we haven't already voted for these things. As if the Prime Minister is an elective office and not just the leader of the party who's won the majority or won the office. It's not America. We are not the United States. And the government doesn't have to have a majority to form a government. There's nothing wrong with that. 20% in the polls is irrelevant. And to deliver something that the majority of the country does want, James. Just, you have just misrepresented the situation completely. And you might say, well, why are you concerned about misrepresentation of the system? Well, of the system and the situation. Well, to be honest with you, it's because I think that that's how radicalization is happening. I mean, you had, what's her name? Red Cortez today, or yesterday, saying something like the US is running concentration camps on their border. And it's like, no, that's just a massive misrepresentation of what's happening. They are not exterminating their own people because they've decided they're an inferior race or a parasite on the American race. They are preventing illegal immigrants from entering into the country, or they're processing immigrants who are applying for entry or asylum or something like that, and you have to put them somewhere. I mean, do you expect them to just sleep in the desert or something? or we can house you and, give you nice clean beds and food. But I mean, I guess that's the alternative option on that regard, isn't it? But that's the thing. If she sits there going, well, these are concentration camps, they're just concentration camps, then a bunch of people will take away from that the US is just evil and is being evil on purpose and is in fact a fascist country, when that's not the case. So you're portraying this as undemocratic when that's not the case. There's been a lot of voting involved to get to the point where now the Conservatives have to vote for a new leader. Fuck's sake. It's perfectly democratic. And yet this is posted around Britain for all, Britain in 2019. Yeah, as it was during Gordon Brown's tenure as he became the Prime Minister. And you weren't whinging then, were you? As it was before. It just, as it always has been for hundreds of years probably now. And so it's just like, you're whining about something that's actually not bad and not undemocratic. It's just, we've been through the democracy part, and now something is there's just a changing of the guard at the top of the Tory party, which, let's be fair, probably isn't going to affect that much. We might actually get Brexit because the Conservatives are literally their own base. Today, I should have got this up for this video. I didn't realise I need it, actually. But yes, today there's an article in The Independent going around that where the majority of the Conservative membership was saying, look, we would destroy the Conservative Party to get Brexit. And I've got to say, well, good. So would I. But seriously, I really hate this kind of thinking. And it's this kind of stuff that puts people in echo chambers and demonizes the other side by suggesting the other side is actually somehow anti-democratic or doesn't have a legitimate voice, or the things that they want are not legitimate interests. And that's not true. And this is just another way of further delegitimizing what has otherwise been a fairly legitimate democratic process, with the exception of the Peterborough by-election, which is currently being investigated. If you've got any ideas of any other by-elections that a party may have been corrupt in, then maybe you should report them to your local authorities, because I'm sure they'd love to investigate them as well. But there isn't necessarily a problem at the moment with the process of democracy in this country. The problem is the people who have been entrusted to finalise that process, who can't be trusted. And incidentally, it's actually a good thing that Theresa May's going, because she was one of those people. Don't get me wrong, James, you're one of those people as well. I mean, I find it ironic on the Britain for All page, which is unbelievably heavily Ramona. I've been following this for ages. They would have the gall to post something about someone being concerned about the state of democracy in Britain. They are actively attempting to overturn the largest and most important referendum that has ever taken place in this country. 17.4 something like million people voted to leave, a clear majority over the 16 or so million who voted stay. So there is just no question of it. We have, by democracy, made this decision, and you are whining that we're not democratic enough as you try and roll back a democratic decision. Pretty incredible, to be honest. Massively hypocritical. And one of those things where the Remainers can just get stuffed. You can just shove it. Absolutely shove it, right? You lost the referendum. Deal with it. The process is as the process is, and you were fine with it up until the point where you started losing. So just stop whining. Just stop whining. You agreed to honour the results of whatever you vote for when you cast that vote. So just shut up and let them get on with it. Just encourage them. Yeah, come on. Democracy demands we have to leave. Come on. Let's just do it. Let's just leave. We have to, whether you like it or not. We have made the choice. Let's do this.